Hey, my name is Paul. I'm the education coordinator at Film Streams in Omaha, Nebraska. Let's talk about film. Welcome to this video. I'm happy that you're here. Do you see what I did there? Because this video is about happiness, and I said that I was happy that you were here. Anyways, we're here today to get to the bottom of the struggle, the quest, the fight for happiness. At the end of this video, you will have all the tools you need to be the happiest you. The sun will shine brighter and flowers will smell more flowery. Fire! What we're really doing in this video is we're gonna hang out and talk about films that show characters in pursuit of happiness or well-being or more fulfillment in their lives. So how are we gonna do this? Well, we're gonna use some key terms and concepts from positive psychology and see how this psychological perspective might help us critically think about films, specifically films about finding happiness. A cute little disclaimer before we begin. This video is not fully in support or in opposition of positive psychology. Positive psychology is just one of the perspectives about happiness and well-being that I came across while I was researching, and I decided to run with it. I think there's some definite issues with this perspective, which we will discuss. And this video is also not a comprehensive examination of positive psychology. If you're into some of the things that we talk about in this video, please check out more resources. There's a ton of free resources available online. Cool? Let's do it. Certain concepts in positive psychology have been around for a very, very long time, all the way back to Aristotle, and even in religious traditions like Hinduism and Buddhism. Martin Seligman, an American psychologist, is the founder of positive psychology. As the president of the American Psychological Association in the late 90s, Seligman wanted to expand the field of psychology and ended up creating the foundations of positive psychology. Positive psychology is the scientific study of what makes life most worth living. This perspective focuses on personal strengths and building a better quality of life. Positive psychology is meant to be a companion to traditional psychology, which, in Seligman's opinion, had become too focused on identifying what wasn't working for a person and getting that person from a negative space to a neutral space. Positive psychology was created to complement that approach and provide people better ways to build quality of life, going from neutral or negative spaces into positive spaces in their life. Some central concepts that I want to discuss in relation to film and positive psychology is the 3 lives model. This model includes the pleasant life, the good life, and the meaningful life. But first, here are the films that I watched. I kept it short and sweet this time. I watched Legally Blonde because it's a classic, obviously. The Pursuit of Happiness felt like a natural choice to include in the video about, the pursuit of happiness, right? Amélie, this film has always been a favorite of mine. It's French and cool and entirely heartwarming in a non-cheesy, cool French way. And last and certainly not least, Hidden Figures. This film is 10 out of 10. Go watch it immediately if you haven't yet. In positive psychology, there's 3 types of lives that can produce what I will be referring to through the rest of this video as happiness. But that term can be a lot of things. Fulfillment, joy, well-being, whatever. I think the ultimate goal in positive psychology is to practice each of these lives in our daily life to sort of max out on happiness. The pleasant life is a life filled with pleasures and positive emotion. This is a time in our life when we can constructively think about our past, our present, and our future. In the pleasant life, we can come to terms with past trauma or negative experiences. In the present, we can practice gratitude and mindfulness while also working to break any negative habits. And we can do this all while we practice a hopeful optimism about our future. Our girl and our favorite law student, Elle Woods, is honestly the queen of the pleasant life.
What, like it's hard?
Legally Blonde is required viewing. This film is about a young woman named Elle Woods who is expecting her boyfriend Warner to make a crucial step in their relationship. She's expecting him to propose. He dumps her. Warner's reasoning is that he needs a serious partner because he has some major aspirations ahead of him at Harvard Law, and Elle wouldn't fit those serious aspirations in his life. Elle's recent breakup spurs her to apply to Harvard Law School and to readjust the trajectory of her life. To be fair, her goal is ultimately to win Warner back and not necessarily to grow or challenge herself. Now, I don't think Seligman would call Elle a shining model of the pleasant life at this point, but by the end of the film, she is definitely in a happier and stronger place than when she started. The pleasant life is about past, present, and future, right? In positive psychology, we need to maintain optimism in each of these areas in order to encourage meaningful growth and happiness. Elle is a total pro at this. Although she experiences some hard falls, she is tenacious in whatever she sets her mind on. After Warner rejects Elle for the second time, Elle finally realizes that he is not worth all this time and attention. Elle throws herself into seriously tackling law school. This is what Seligman might consider coming to terms with Elle's past. She realizes that Warner is a total jerk and he doesn't deserve her. In the present, we watch Elle transform into a very promising law student, and she begins to focus all her energy on her studies. Elle is really savoring her time at Harvard Law, and by the end of the film, she's even successfully completed her first high-profile criminal trial. The future for Elle looks pretty cool too. She's been offered a job at a very prestigious law firm, and her current relationship is developing in a very fulfilling way. The end of the film shows that Elle is in a really good place. We see her at her law school graduation, speaking to her fellow graduates. Elle is positioned in front of a large bank of windows, which kind of illuminate her from behind. This might suggest that she's an enlightened or a self-actualized person at this point. And then the song Perfect Day starts to play as the credits begin to roll. This scene is a little heavy-handed, but I think it fits Elle's optimism for her future perfectly. The good life is characterized by using our personal strengths in order to achieve or practice the 6 universal virtues in positive psychology. These 6 virtues are wisdom or knowledge, courage, love and humanity, justice, temperance, and spirituality or transcendence. Strengths can be learned, developed, and take effort. Using your personal strengths, you achieve and practice these 6 virtues. The practice should result in a life of happiness, good relationships, and successful work. For this stage of happy life, I wanted to talk about the pursuit of happiness.
I'm the type of person, if you ask me a question and I don't know the answer, I'm gonna tell you that I don't know. But I bet you what? I know how to find the answer, and I will find the answer.
Chris Gardner is struggling as he tries to provide for his family. We see Chris is a hard worker, but his luck is pretty lousy. This film follows Chris as he experiences setback after setback, including a separation from his wife and homelessness, all while trying to take care of his young son, Chris Jr. Finally, there is a glimmer of hope when Chris learns about an internship program at a brokerage firm. The internship is not paid, and there isn't a guaranteed job at the end of it. Chris knows that he can work hard and show the firm that he's a good fit for this job. So in the pursuit of happiness, we watch Chris take a huge gamble with his life. He needs to find work immediately, and he focuses a lot of his effort on this internship, which truthfully might not work out in the end. So let's look at this film in terms of the good life and positive psychology. Now, it might feel inappropriate or insensitive to call Chris's life the good life, and I totally agree. Chris is really struggling, and it's very clear he's not experiencing a ton of lasting happiness. What I want to connect between the pursuit of happiness and positive psychology is that Chris uses his personal strengths in order to build a future that will work for him and his son. Chris's personal strengths are pretty clear as you watch the film. Chris is very intelligent, including social intelligence. He's a really hard worker, super persistent, and he has a lot of hope for his future. These strengths all pair very well with the work that Chris is doing in his internship. While the majority of this film is about the hard work and the struggles that Chris and his son endure, the end of the film fills the viewer in on Chris's future successes. I would argue that the pursuit of happiness in this film would look a lot different and maybe not as successful if Chris did not stick to his personal strengths and cultivate them towards his goals. This is in line with the good life and positive psychology. The meaningful life is all about using your personal strengths and optimism to build and invest in things that are bigger than you. Things that create happiness or good in the world and not simply in your own life. For this one, I wanted to talk about Amelie. Amelie is a film about Amelie, a shy, reserved young woman who is a total dreamer. She's created this little world of her own, which works pretty well for her. However, she's not entirely fulfilled. She wants something more. After Amelie returns an old man's prized childhood toy box, Amelie decides that she needs to devote her life to bring happiness to others around her. So we watch as Amelie orchestrates elaborate schemes in order to make the people in her life happier.
Venez, je vais vous aider. On descend et hop, c'est parti. Là, on croise la veuve du tambour de la fanfare. Elle porte la vareuse de son mari depuis qu'il est mort. Attention, hop, ce rire, c'est celui du mari de la fleuriste. Il a des petites rides de malice au coin des yeux. Oh, dans la vitrine de la pâtisserie, il y a des sucettes Pierrot Gourmand. Vous sentez ce parfum? C'est Pépone qui fait goûter ses melons aux clients.
Allez, goûtez mon melon.
Ah, chez Marion, ils font de la glace au calisson. Voilà, maintenant on est devant le petit kiosque à journaux, juste à l'entrée du métro. Et moi, je vous laisse ici. Au revoir.
So how is the meaningful life in positive psychology reflected in Amelie? Well, Amelie throughout the film is almost entirely engrossed in trying to bring happiness to those around her. Sure, she messes up sometimes and she isn't always entirely helpful, but for the most part, she's really trying to be selfless. What I think Seligman and positive psychology is trying to say about the meaningful life is that personal happiness is important, of course, but personal happiness can't really exist if the world is truly an awful place. In fact, if we only focus on our personal happiness, I would argue that that's pretty selfish, right? And a selfish kind of happiness, I don't think is a very authentic kind of happiness. Amelie as a character is not the happiest person in the world, but she tries to do good. And I think through doing this good, in the end, that helps cultivate her own happiness. So now I want to talk about some criticisms of positive psychology. Some people rightfully critique positive psychology because its use of evaluation methods and self-reports can be somewhat unreliable. Other people find that this perspective is too easily commercialized and altered. So the critique that I wanted to talk about when it comes to positive psychology is that positive psychology promotes mindfulness and determination as ways or tools to achieve one's happiness or well-being. But does this mentality erase the very real obstacles that cannot be removed by determination and mindfulness alone? Obstacles that are social or systemic, like racism, classism, ableism, misogyny, or homophobia. These laws or mentalities are designed to keep certain people in certain places.
No crime in a broken down car.
No crime being Negro, neither.
Button it up, Mary. Nobody wants to go to jail behind your mouth.
Not a great place for three of y'all be having car trouble.
We didn't pick the place, officer. It picked us.
You being disrespectful?
No, sir.
You have identification on me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We're just on our way to work at Langley. NASA.
NASA? That's something. I had no idea they hired.
There are quite a few women working in the space program.
That clip was from Hidden Figures, which is a film about 3 black women who work at NASA in the early 1960s. These 3 women work in a very intense department that does outrageous math that is vital to space travel. The film follows Catherine, Mary, and Dorothy as they all work in a system that is both racist and misogynist. Despite these obstacles, all 3 women grow within NASA and carve out spaces for themselves. The reason I wanted to talk about Hidden Figures as a critique against positive psychology is because no amount of personal cultivation or positive thinking or mindfulness alone, it would change the laws in place or the attitudes that these women have to face throughout the entirety of the film and throughout their entire lives. Mary has to petition a judge in order to attend classes that will allow her to become an engineer. Dorothy has to sneak around and even steal a book from the library to teach herself a system at NASA that no one will teach her because of her skin color and her gender. And Catherine has to run all the way across campus to use the restroom because she works in a segregated building. So I'm not sure that positive psychology adequately addresses the disparity of privileges that people experience in our world. this disparity can really hinder some people in their pursuit of happiness. And we see that in the film Hidden Figures. Mary, Catherine, and Dorothy all have to take extra steps in order to grow or succeed or cultivate happiness. And these steps are necessary because of the oppression that they face as Black women. So this video was kind of a tough one for me. In no way do I want to be seen as an authority figure on happiness or positive psychology. Honestly, that sounds like a lot of pressure. However, I did enjoy researching and learning about positive psychology, and I'm always going to recommend that anyone learn more about the things that interest them. To be honest, this video looks a lot different than my original idea. I originally thought that I would just choose a few really happy characters in film and see how they were portrayed. I even had a small list of characters that I was going to talk about, and then I realized that that list was entirely white people. And when I went to go research really happy BIPOC characters, I was at a loss because I couldn't really find a lot of options. And I don't think that's entirely coincidental, honestly. I think that probably says something pretty sad about our world. But I would be really interested to see what you guys have to say about that. Another last thought that I wanted to leave you with is that 3 of the 4 films that I talked about were situated with like happiness and some kind of work environment. Amelie was the only film that really didn't stress happiness in a person's job. Do you think that happiness is directly tied to the work that makes us money? Is that problematic? And I guess my final thought is that happiness honestly is a strange concept that I don't think really works that well when you try to nail it down with a simple definition. I do think that watching really happy films might be a really great way to begin to think about what will make you truly happy. And I guess if you're thinking about what will make you truly happy, then you're doing some pretty cool and important work. Bye.